The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, so good evening, everyone. I'm just waiting for a few more people to log in, and I can see the numbers going up nicely, which is quite exciting and slightly nerve-wracking. So we'll just give it a few more seconds, and then we'll get started. Obviously, I'm wanting to keep to time tonight, so that's brilliant. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us this evening. I hope you've been enjoying the fabulous calls and that you've learned as much as I have. I think they've been absolutely fantastic over the last week and a half. So I'm really excited to share the webinar tonight, which is titled Hormone Hell to Hormone Heaven. And just one thing to say, if you're a man and you're listening to this either live or on the recording, please don't log off and think this doesn't apply to you, because it does. Just bear with me, and I promise it will all become clear later on. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kerry Madgwick. I'm a clinical nutritionist and meditation teacher. And as with so many others, my ill health is what led me to the path of kind of what I do. So it was partly healing myself and then going on to help others do the same thing. And I've been doing that for over 8 years now. So if it's okay with you, I'll just quickly share my story. So it's my story of my hormone hell to hormone heaven. So in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. So if you know of anyone, or if anyone has suffered with this, you know how debilitating it can be. And it took 5 years for me to get the diagnosis that I eventually got. So in all that time, I was in pain. I wasn't sleeping very well. I had no idea what was going on because no one could tell me. And at my very worst, I was sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night. I was in so much pain. So if you think back to John's webinar, if you listened in to a sleep webinar, if you didn't, then definitely listen into that, on how important sleep is, then you'll know that sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night is not great at all. So eventually I was advised by my doctor that she couldn't help me, and she suggested that I seek help from an alternative therapist. And I then discovered the amazing world of plant-based medicine. And from that, I began to heal from my symptoms. But several years after that, we moved country. And once again, I ended up with high levels of stress, a poor diet. I was working 9 to 10 hours a day, and sometimes that was 7 days a week. And what happened was my symptoms totally flared up again. When I went back to see the doctor, I was offered medication, and I was told that I would have to be on that for the rest of my life. But in the end, I refused the medication because I knew that I'd healed myself once before, and I thought if I'd done it once, I could do it again. So that's what led me on my journey to my nutritional qualifications. And through doing that, I understood that I needed to supplement to boost my health, because I was lacking in nutrients and I wasn't getting them through my diet. So, and this was despite a massive change in my diet, because I moved to 90% organic, and really cleaned up my diet. I cut out a lot of the carbohydrates. I was eating vegetables. I was eating, clean grass-fed meat, and I was eating organic dairy. But I still realized that I just wasn't getting enough good quality nutrients, because I needed to heal my body first, and secondly, I needed then to stay in good health after healing my body. So in the end, I ended up taking what I now refer to as over-the-counter supplements, and unfortunately, they made me more ill. And I have to say, I got really annoyed about this, because I knew that there was only way to boost my diet was to take the supplements. I needed to heal my gut, and I knew I needed to heal my body. And I just started feeling worse and worse, and I eventually gave up on them. I did a lot of research, and I found some really scary things about over-the-counter supplements, which I don't have time to go into now. But, I talked before about herbal medicine, and that's exactly what I found when I found Synergy Worldwide and their supplements, because they're all plant-based, real food supplements. And that's because of their sourcing, their testing, and their quality. And that to me was really incredibly important, because I knew I needed to supplement, but I wanted supplements that were going to make me better and not worse. And once I started taking these supplements, I had such a massive change in my health. And the thing for me is, I'm now supposedly heading towards menopause, but I have no symptoms. I'm actually completely pain-free. I now have regular periods, which, dare I say, are fairly annoying because they come on with no warning. But to be honest, after what I've lived through, that is something that I can definitely live through. So that just leads me on to talking about the issues that we have with our hormones, why most of us are in hormone hell and not in hormone heaven. So hopefully by the end of the night, you'll all be the little yellow smiley faces and not the blue unhappy faces in hormone hell. So what happens is with our hormones is that we have a lot of issues with our hormones. And so, yes, as I said, for all the men out there, this does include you. You've heard of man boobs, you've heard of aggressive behavior and anxiety, and these are all linked to your hormones. We have very high levels of physical stress, chemical stress, so toxins such as BPA, our household cleaners, and even in our food. And a lot of people are living under a lot of emotional stress. And these are all associated with a loss of progesterone in women and testosterone in men. And these key hormones become depleted, and what happens is we end up with a state of estrogen dominance. And this state is one of the major factors associated with a lot of the degenerative disease processes that we're facing today. So we obviously have a number of other hormones, and our hormones are our chemical messengers. They control most of our body's major systems. So we're looking at our heart rate, our metabolism, how we extract the energy from the food we eat, our appetite, our mood, sexual function, reproduction, growth, development, sleep cycles, and so much more. So you can see that when your hormones are out of whack, a lot of things really start to break down and we see a lot of issues. So I just wanted to share some very quick facts with you. In the past few decades, men have lost 50% of their sperm count, and within only one generation, the average man's sperm count and testosterone levels have dropped by 20%, which is massive. And we have more and more women today suffering from female disorders that are related to hormone imbalance. And when you take this into consideration, it really is not surprising that there are a lot of couples out there who are suffering with fertility issues. So as I said, this relates to men and women. It's just not women who are, in hormone hell. So just to talk a little bit about the symptoms, obviously, if you're in hormone hell, you're aware of a lot of these symptoms. We have PMS symptoms, we have PMT, we have endometriosis, as I had, infertility, hot flashes, fatigue, cervical dysplasia, decreased libido. We suffer with weight gain, headaches, cramping, depression, thyroid problems, backaches, mood swings, bloating, hair loss. The list is just endless. We've got painful breast, irregular periods. A lot of people suffer from brain fog, and to the point that people can even suffer from vomiting and diarrhea and constipation. So you can see there's a long list, and yes, those things affect both men and women, obviously, apart from the irregular periods. So it is a long list, as I said, and the biggest issue that we face is what we call the buildup of xenoestrogenic chemicals, and these affect our hormones. They affect our gut, and as you can see, they affect our overall health. So I just want to go back to that, and that you heard me correctly. It affects our gut health, because our gut bacteria and our gut health are one of the most overlooked elements of hormonal balance. So this includes menopause and thyroid issues. We're seeing more and more people with prostate issues, with colon issues, with ovarian cancers, with breast lumps, so those sorts of things are all included. So the solution that we have when it comes to hormonal imbalance, what we really need to do is detoxify the body safely and effectively to get rid of the excess estrogen and the toxicity. And of course, we need to heal the gut. I'm sure you've heard that. You've heard that throughout the webinars. You've heard it in mainstream media. It's everywhere, where everyone is talking about healing your gut, because that really, really is the cornerstone of your health. So as I mentioned before, I healed to a certain level by changing my diet, by introducing meditation, and I got to a certain level, but I still struggled with irregular periods. I had slight discomfort around my periods, I had bloating, I had mood swings, and I had some excess weight that I just couldn't get rid of no matter what I tried. But when I started taking the right supplements, all of that really, really started to change, and I noticed an amazing difference. So before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit more about xenoestrogen, so you understand what they are, how that happens, and what you can do about it. So our modern lifestyle habits are very estrogenic in nature. Our 21st century diet is based a lot on processed, chemically laden foods which contain xenoestrogens. So you even have people who think they're eating a really healthy diet because they're buying packaged salad. But don't forget, those salads have been sprayed. That's why they look so good. Otherwise, the leaves would kind of go limp in a couple of days. So those foods are chemically laden, and that's what contains the xenoestrogens. And the problem is these mimic our estrogen that is naturally produced in the body. They interact with our receptor sites in our cells, and what happens is we end up with an excess of estrogen, and that blocks the effects of how our naturally produced estrogen works. And then, to make matters worse, these endocrine disruptors cause fat to lodge in our cells, and they become resistant to being broken down because the body wants to keep the toxins away from our vital organs. And that's where we see it a lot of times with weight loss resistance, and obviously weight gain because of the fat storing those toxins. So we have chemicals and toxins in our food, in our personal care products, our household cleaners. And what happens is all those chemicals come together, and when they combined together, they create a synergistic effect in the body, which is not a good effect because they're creating toxicity. And over time, what happens is we end up with chronic liver stress. Obviously, toxicity, which I've talked about, we end up with digestion issues because our gut health is compromised, issues with our metabolism, we end up with inflammation, and obviously lowered energy and immunity. And I suffered from all of these things. I had digestion issues, I had problems with my metabolism, I struggled to lose the weight, I had no energy, and my immunity was so low. I once ended up with a cold literally for 3 months. I just felt dreadful. And then I ended up, because of that, with spastic colon and with Raynaud's, because my immunity was so low that once you start to kind of suffer from one illness, a lot of people, they don't only suffer from one thing, they start to suffer from other things because your immunity is compromised. So what happens is we then end up with poor liver function, and we have an inadequate breakdown and release of these toxins. And what happens is they go back into our bloodstream, and they become even more toxic than they were before. So this toxic form of estrogen that we have then dramatically increases the risk. We talked about thyroid disorders, endometriosis. We see more and more men who are suffering from andropause, which is the male menopause. We see problems with ovarian cysts, with prostate issues, and obviously with menopause. And I mentioned gut health because our gut bacteria actually impact the production of the estrogen. So the right bacteria help to produce the estrogen, and they help to detoxify from the harmful version of the estrogens. So I mentioned before that the toxic estrogens are the problem, and that's what we need to get rid of. So progesterone, which we need, is also produced in the gut. It's produced in our microbiome, which signals when and how much progesterone to produce. So you can see the link that if you have poor gut health, it has a major impact on your hormones. And as we discussed before, this has a major impact on your overall health. So obviously the good news is that there's always a solution. I no longer have endometriosis. My hormones are stable, and I have moved from hormone hell to hormone heaven. And I promise you, I really intend to stay there. And hopefully you will all be able to join me there. So the best way to do this is by going organic. It's not only your diet, but it's your personal care products, your household cleaners, and your supplements. So it's a whole, what we always call the holistic approach. It's everything. So let's just have a look at your diet and the things that you need to introduce to help your body detoxify the estrogen. So we're looking at things like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, anti-inflammatory foods high in omega-3, such as 100% organic grass-fed beef and dairy, wild-caught salmon, and obviously if you're vegetarian, we're looking at plant-based fats such as avocados, coconut oil, raw nuts, chia seeds, and hemp seeds are a great source of that. So as I explained before, I did all of that. I changed my diet, and I did, my health increased significantly, and my symptoms really started to reduce. but I knew that I needed to supplement, because if you look at a plant, you don't just fix the plant, you need to fix the soil. And that's kind of what I knew I needed to do. I needed to fix, the root cause of my illness. It wasn't just the symptoms, it was actually the root cause that needed to be fixed, and that was my gut health, and then balancing my hormones. And I mentioned before taking what I now call over-the-counter supplements. They really made me worse. And as I said, I just gave up taking them, but I continued to search because I knew that there must be supplements out there that were going to be the right thing for me. So that was when I was introduced to Synergy Worldwide. As I said, their supplements are all plant-based. They're supplements that you can rely on. They work. They've worked for me. They've worked for all of my clients. And I just wanted to share those solutions with you now. So Body Prime is a magnesium supplement. So everybody is magnesium deficient, and yes, I mean everyone. In my experience, there's not one single person that I work with who has not benefited from taking magnesium. And the fantastic thing is the Body Prime has prune powder and apple pectin. So it helps with relaxation, it helps with muscle function, with repair after exercise, with detoxification and bowel function, which we talked about are really, really important as part of getting rid of the estrogens in the body. So magnesium is needed in over 500 processes in the body, and we just don't get enough in our diets. Our soils are depleted, so therefore our plants are depleted, and we're not getting in our diet. So for this for me is an absolutely essential supplement. I've been taking it for 6 years, and I will continue to take it. The other thing that is really amazing is PhytoLife. This is a green drink that balances the pH in your body. Balancing your pH is one thing, that is really crucial to your health. It helps to detoxify your organs. So once again, we've got that detoxification process going on. It helps to rebuild our cells and our tissue. It helps with our immunity, with our digestion, with our bowel function. So you can see all of those issues coming through. They're being dealt with these supplements. So we have increased fat metabolism, reduced cravings for unhealthy foods, and it also helps us to cope better with stress because we've got all of these things that are improving as we're taking the PhytoLife. So we talked about greens and how important they are. And the exciting thing for me is 3 teaspoons of PhytoLife. So that's just 15 mils is equivalent to 1.5 kgs of greens. And I can bet you that most people are not even eating half of that. It's, let's face it, it's quite hard to eat that much greens in physical plant form. So I think this is fantastic for those people who can't get their greens. A lot of people don't like their greens. So, I just think this is brilliant, and it's so easy. You add it to your water. Most people don't drink enough water. So it just really helps your water to taste better. Really, what more could you ask for? So these are what I call my 2 little powerhouses. So and they're a really great starting point for most of the symptoms we talked about. We've talked about bowel function, about digestion, about detoxifying, but then we add in Purify. And the Purify program is designed to purify, fortify, and protect the ecosystem of the microbes living inside of you. It has 5 innovative formulas, and they are combined to give your microbiome the overhaul it needs so that your microbiome can start clean, so you can heal your gut. So the program helps to detoxify your body, to balance your microbiome, so dealing with your gut health that we spoke about, and it helps to reset your metabolism. So that effectively is balancing your hormones and boosting your health. And it has everything we need to detoxify safely and heal the gut. So we're looking at things such as inulin, psyllium, pre and probiotics, glutamine, digestive enzymes. It's got the right type of fiber and all of the essential nutrients to support the body. And the thing that I love about it is that you add those into a perfectly normal diet. So you eat 3 normal meals a day, and you just add those supplements in to boost your health and to boost your detoxification processes and to help your gut heal and repair itself. So I just have to be honest with you. When I was first introduced to the program, I didn't believe that you could heal your gut in such a short period of time. I was quite skeptical. but I have literally just started my third Purify program on Monday, in just under 2 years, and I absolutely love it. The results I've had with my clients are phenomenal. My hormones are balanced. I've lost the excess weight I was carrying. And the interesting thing for me is I weigh the same, but my clothes are 2 sizes smaller. So remember, it's not always about the scales. I think a lot of us are obsessed with scales and our weight, but that has proven to me that it absolutely is not about your weight. It's about your body composition. And that's what this program does by balancing and resetting your metabolism. So every single time I do the 21-day program, it really does take my health to another level. So what I'd like to do now is just to invite Emma to share her hormone heaven story with you. So Emma is a fabulous Pilates instructor, and she's a PT, and she would probably really struggle to serve her clients if she was in hormone hell. So it's really important for her as well to keep her hormones balanced. So Emma, thank you so much for coming on to share your story with everyone. And I'll just let you go ahead and share your story.
Thanks, Kerry. Thank you. As Kerry said, I'm a personal trainer and a health and wellness coach, and I teach Pilates and yoga. And I also work with menopausal clients, and I see their struggles. And I was determined to do everything possible to keep my own hormones balanced to give me a smooth hormonal transition. So when I started to get a few very low-level flushes, that was it for me. It was time to jump to it and take some action. So I'm now actually through the menopause, so I'm post-menopause now. But I have to say I've really hardly suffered at all. I do a microbiome reset program twice a year, and my body usually tells me when it's time, as I just start to get a very few low-level little power surges. I mean, they're hardly anything. It's just a slight warm feeling, which obviously I want to nip in the bud. So I take the Pro-Arginine Plus and Body Prime at bedtime because I have to get good quality sleep. That's super important. And before sort of taking on the products, I would wake up in the morning and feel a bit groggy. Whereas now, although I'd slept all night, whereas now I know that with the Body Prime and the Pro-Arginine, that's allowing me to have a really good level of sleep. And the quality of the sleep allows me to wake up and feel super refreshed and energized and ready to tackle my day, which again is very important to me. I need to be as energized for my last client of the day as I am for my first client. I take the Phytolife in my water to keep my system alkaline, and also increased my iron levels, just to make sure my iron levels are stable, because that also is a symptom for premenopause and postmenopause. Iron levels drop down. Obviously, we need iron to help with our energy. I also take the Mystify. I know you haven't spoken about that this evening, Kerry, but really to keep my immune system boosted and my blood sugars balanced, so that I don't have huge insulin sweeps, which are going to kind of cause hot flushes as well, and also to protect my system against free radical damage. But one of the things for me as well, kind of keeping my hormones really balanced, was to do with bone density for me, because post-menopause, our bone density is going to decrease between 1% and 3% annually. And the Pro-Arginine gives my body the vitamin D3 and the K2 that it needs to really support my bones. And obviously the Phytolife, keeping my system alkaline, is also going to help my bones retain their calcium rather than it being pulled out into my circulatory system. So, like you, Kerry, I've taken a holistic approach. So, as you mentioned, holistic is including dietary changes and trying to reduce stress and what have you. But I have in the past taken other plant-based supplements, but I've never had the same results as I have with the Phytolife Body Prime and doing the Microbiome Purify program regularly. And the microbiome program is excellent because it just allows you to recognize your food and drink triggers that are going to perhaps fight hot flushes or make you feel low in energy, etc. So it's a really good focus, and it's an education program as well, for all of us. And I feel fantastic, and I absolutely don't want to feel any other way. So I am definitely continuing with my Pure 21 twice a year, and with my other supplements as well. So I've definitely found hormone heaven there.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And yeah, thanks for mentioning the other supplements. It's in such a short webinar, it's quite hard to cover everything. So, you know, thanks for mentioning the Mystify and Pro-Arginine, because obviously those, you know, make a huge difference and obviously are a good addition to anyone dealing with their, you know, with their hormone health as well. So that's brilliant. And the bone density is so important as well, with a lot of people, you know, in older parts of their, you know, as they get older, suffering with osteoporosis and those sort of things. So thank you so much for sharing, Emma. I really, really appreciate your story. And I know everyone can't see Emma, but she's a great testimonial. You would never, you know, believe she is the age she is. So I think, you know, she's a great testament to what she does in her health and taking the products as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Kerry.
So I just also wanted to share a testimonial from another client who's had really fabulous results using the Vitalife and Body Prime and Pure 21. So this was the testimonial I received, where she said, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you, Kerry. You've been amazing supporting me over the past few weeks. I've been trying for what seems like forever to lose weight. I was under the impression my diet wasn't too bad, and I could not understand why I could not lose the weight. I have an underactive thyroid, and I thought this meant that I'd have to work extra hard and eat very little. However, since receiving your advice, I've discovered my diet was not up to scratch. I never ate breakfast. I rarely ate lunch. I was so tired. I suffered with mood swings. I also had diarrhea every day for 13 years, which was a complete mystery to the doctors. Anyway, this week I've taken on board what you've told me. I've learned from the Pure 21 program, as it's a lifestyle change. I've had 3 good meals every day this week. I've cut out the gluten. I've introduced so much veg. I'm drinking lots of water, and lo and behold, my toilet troubles have ended. I'm as regular as clockwork. I'm sleeping a lot better. I'm getting about 7 hours opposed to 3 or 4, and I'm determined to continue this healthy lifestyle after Purify, continuing to eat great and feel brilliant. Right now, I feel I could take on the world. So for me, that was an amazing testimonial, because that's literally life-changing for someone who has really been ill and struggling, you know, for 13 years. So for her to be able to, you know, have those results, and also to have that much sleep. I mean, 7 hours after 3 or 4, you know, it's no wonder that she felt so fabulous after, you know, having that sleep as well. So the bottom line is that the key to balanced hormones is to detoxify correctly and safely, and to have a healthy gut. So if you want to find out more about any of the products or anything that we've discussed tonight, then please do get in contact with the person who invited you to this webinar, or shared the webinar with you if you're listening to the replay. So that is it from me tonight, but tomorrow night we have a fabulous presentation from Sue Thomas, talking all things about improving athletic performance and endurance. Sue cycled London to Paris, so not only does she work with her clients by helping them to improve their performance and endurance, she is her own walking testimonial. So do tune into that. It will be fabulous, I know. And then on Sunday, we end the series with a presentation from Julia Rywald on how you can use synergy in your business, or in fact, if you're interested, you could start your own business. Julia is a really fabulous presenter. She's got loads of energy, and I always really love listening into her. So please do tune into the final 2 webinars of the series. And it just leaves me to say thank you so much for listening in. It's really been a privilege to share with you. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening.